Prior to this study, we weren't even exactly sure where Pennsylvania birds migrated. The idea was that eastern birds probably went down the east of the Appalachians, and birds from western Pennsylvania probably went down the western side of the Appalachians. What we have found now is a much more detailed picture of where they're going. Some of them are overwintering just 20 miles off the Gulf Coast in Mississippi and Alabama. We've had a bird that went all the way into western Louisiana. By the same token, we've had some that started down the western side of the mountains like we would expect, and then jogged over to the Atlantic coast. So these tags really give such a fuller, more complex picture of what they're doing. Woodcock have been a species of concern for decades now because they have been declining consistently really since the 1940s, 1950s. And it was only in the 60s that we really started monitoring them nationally and documenting this 1% decline per year. 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you stretch that over a 60-year period, that's a lot of birds being lost. In the past, migration studies were done pretty coarsely with the metal leg band that most people are familiar with. You put them on a whole bunch of birds in the hopes that you'll get a couple birds back. So the band return for woodcock is like 5%. So you have to band 100 to get information on 5. With the satellite telemetry, it's almost exactly a 1-for-1. If this stays on the bird like it's supposed to, you're going to get really detailed information for every bird that you tag. And the level of information is really amazing with this because you can focus right down and see exactly what habitat they're using. With a metal leg band, all you know is that this bird was shot 1,000 miles away. So satellite telemetry, this has really been a game changer for migration studies. When we started this study, we weren't exactly sure what would be the best way to trap birds. So we tried a couple different things. We put mist nets up so that birds at dusk would fly into the net and then we would untangle them from the net. What we found to be the most successful were using ATVs or UTVs to drive through an area like this with a spotlight. And you have one driver, one person manning the spotlight. And these birds, when you come upon them, they tend to sit tight. And so then you sort of sneak out of the UTV with your long-handled net and then just quickly kind of down on the bird. And from that moment on, things get really busy once you have the bird in the net.
Yeah, 67. So it's going to be in that uncertain section. You're looking at the outer 3 primary feathers, the width and the shape of these. Males are generally thinner, females are a little bit thicker. But bill length on this one shows uncertain for sex. So we'll take it back and weigh it, see how close we are. We need 185 for weight. Pillowcase, you said 275.
Yeah, and the pillowcase is 80.
Okay.
Then we take it back to the processing area. Usually the first thing we do are take some measures. We measure the bill, we measure the wing, we measure the leg. Those are all, to give an idea of growth by year and also male-female differences. And then finally, after we get those measurements on, typically we weigh the bird. And again, that's to see what size transmitter it can carry. We have small transmitters and we have these larger transmitters. So we're really careful to match the appropriate weight with the appropriate bird. Putting the harness on can take a while because it's a little bit fussy.
4, 3, 8, 2, 3.
You have this $1,600 unit in your hand. And so you want to make sure that you're putting it on exactly the way that it's going to wear and carry the best. We usually have someone hold the bird and then someone else do the transmittering. And you put these loops kind of open up and you feed them under the legs. This antenna points backwards behind the bird. You start to cinch it and tighten it and move the feathers around to make sure that it's really snug against the body. Get those feathers out of the way and then cinch it up to where it's just as tight as you want it but not squeezing the bird. and then we clip it off and test it, wiggle it, make sure it feels good, hope for the best. Put a leg band on the bird. And then after everything is said and done, we take the bird out. You can imagine at this point, it's wondering what the heck just happened. So we'll take it out to an area like this, put it under some safe cover, and usually they hang out there for a little bit and kind of walk and get a feel for the transmitter. And then sometimes you see them take off, or sometimes they wait a while and you go back and check on them again until you've seen them go and you know they're okay. The transmitters give us a lot of information, but they're very lightweight, which means they don't have a big battery in them. Each transmitter can take about 75 locations, and so if we want the transmitter to last a long time, we program it so that those locations are only coming in maybe once a week. We can get, with programming, we can get birds that we follow south, and then we can get them until they come back for nesting in the spring. But that's about the maximum we can get out of a transmitter. After the transmitter dies, you can see it's made out of stretchy material here. This is just plastic stretchy cord, and so it will weather and get loose and fall off of the bird. To study migration for a bird that crosses a bunch of states, you really need a bunch of states to cooperate. And I think we're up to 11 states that are cooperating in the east, putting tags on birds. And that allows us to really see the flow of woodcock north and south in the east. And we've really seen the role that Pennsylvania plays. So a lot of those northern birds funnel right down through Pennsylvania because they don't really want to cross the Great Lakes. They don't want to go over the Atlantic Ocean. So they funnel right across the Keystone State as they're heading their way south and north again. So it's amazing to see the role that we play across the entire region in supporting those migratory birds. Really fine-tuning our habitat management is probably the outcome from this study that I'm most excited about. As these birds are migrating and then they land, the satellite telemetry allows us to zoom right into that area and see what that habitat is that they're using. And so I'm very excited to take that information and help us figure out how to make the best available habitat.